As we initiate chaos, theory guarantees that we'll play like lightning shots, sounding like thunder. For every time in the face that it hits us, we're faster. Well, they should know by now. They see the world keeps trying to shake us. It only waits us. The pendulum swings. The pendulum swings. It's in a beautiful darkness. Only another. It's full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. All above the Betty Express. Misdirected from the start. It's a runaway train. I come a freight train. I come a freight train. In a beautiful darkness, the Betty Express. In a beautiful darkness.
Okay, we're trying a new setup. I'm seeing how this works because we're just trying a new one, but oh my Bob Ross, this woman would excuse Satan. I am legitimately not kidding. For everything that Tanner did ever, she has an excuse. I am not kidding, but there does appear to have been some discussion or testimony yesterday, or perhaps the state found out that they didn't get all of the paperwork they were supposed to, because some of the questions do seem like the state and this witness have talked to each other. Now, I am going to be flashing this up. There are too many for me to make it a counter. But basically, this guy, 50 Shades of Logic, sing it to me. I had to get in early because this man is making this woman squirm, and it's glorious. It's like all of yesterday was leading up to today, and now Logic, the good guys, and the Jedi are going to win.
Good morning. I'm glad everybody's safe. We are ready to proceed. Cross-examination, Mr. State. Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Ryan, thank you for coming back today.
Sure.
I know you hadn't planned on that, I don't think, but I appreciate you staying over with us to chat with us a little bit. I won't keep you up there as long as yesterday. I'm going to let you head back to the Ohio State University. That's an important thing, isn't it? If they put it on their letterhead.
I think it's a proprietary thing rather than an important thing.
All right. So the first thing I want to talk about, let's talk about your report. Your report in this case we talked about is introduced into evidence. It's about 38 pages, is that right?
That's correct.
Now, when you do a report like this one, this report is primarily based off what the person you're interviewing is telling you, right?
No.
Well, I noted in here, there's, I tried to count them, but there's a lot of stuff in here about Mr. Horner, that Mr. Horner reported things to you, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then Mr. Horner told you things, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Horner explained certain things to you?
Yes.
I mean, there's a substantial amount of this information, I'm not gonna go over every bit of it, is all coming directly from what Mr. Horner is explaining to you or telling you about a certain situation. Isn't that correct?
Much of it.
Okay. And in fact, you know, most of the stuff that you're asking him about his symptoms, his feelings about things, things that happened in the past, things that happened in this case, so on and so forth, is his report to you, correct?
There is his report, but there is also all of the documentation, the records, the discovery that your office provided, and the collateral informants that I spoke with.
Right. But like, for example, you indicate in one part of your report, Mr. Horner recalled working for Walmart and the reason why he left Walmart. That only can come from him, correct? You don't have employment records for Walmart, do you?
I did have employment records, but I can't recall if Walmart was in there.
And when he gives you a reason for certain things that happened, for example, when he's explaining to you in here about what happened when it came to you know, having sex with a 16-year-old, that comes directly from him. You don't have any additional records.
There was the report police report, but that description came from him.
Right. And then, for example, when he's talking to you about how much drugs he uses and how often he uses, that comes directly from him, correct?
And it was corroborated by others.
Okay, so
Ma'am, corroborated by, let's see, his mom, who was into the not street legal pharmaceuticals, his fiance, who was also dabbling, or the grandmother who couldn't move around and didn't really know what was going on. I mean, which of these people was your reliable narrator?
you're telling me that there's evidence in here when he says that he's using drugs a certain amount of time, that there's records that corroborate that he was using it that many times?
No, there are no records.
Okay. So again, it's just him.
And a collateral source that I interviewed.
Okay. So you have a collateral source. If I read on page 12, where it says Mr. Horner used hallucinogens, acid countless times, ages 21 and 29. You have a collateral source that says he used acid that many times between the ages of 21 and 29?
No,
So that comes just directly from him.
that comes from him.
Hmm.
And as far as anything to do with, anything to do directly with him, within his unique knowledge, for example, the information about what he did or did not do with Athena Strand in this case, that is solely within his knowledge.
And the discovery information that you provided.
Okay. But anything that he said as to what he was thinking or what went on would come directly from him alone,
Yes,
from his report.
yes.
Now, and so you'll agree with me that from your perspective, it's important to be accurate with what information you reviewed in order to make certain assessments in this case. Would you agree with that?
Yes,
And so in this particular case, you would agree with me that whatever somebody you're interviewing is telling you, it's of critical importance that they're being truthful with you. Don't you agree?
not necessarily.
What? Do what now? Okay, ma'am, I have seen the back of your hair, and I don't know why you decided to see Kate from John and Kate plus 8 and decided to do the porcupine butt in the back, but I don't trust your subjective judgment of what is relevant to this case, because you again picked that hairstyle.
It's not of critical importance that the person you interview is telling you the truth?
Depends on what the question is and what the issue is and what additional information one might have.
So does it concern, I guess I'm trying to figure out, so they can lie about some things and not about others? And that's okay?
It's not okay, but it is what it is. People do lie. It doesn't mean that everything that they're saying is untruthful. And that's where collateral sources, discovery information, all of that comes in to kind of be able to weigh.
Ma'am, I trust Lily Tomlin to make my coffee a la working 9 to 5 more than I trust your subjective judgment of what is a lie and what is the truth in Tanner world. Marianne, I don't know. This is the state crossing her, and we are just hearing the state bring logic to this woman. You can bring the horse to water. You cannot make it drink. She will continue to pick that hairstyle and those horrible colors. There is only so much good that logic can do in the world.
In my judgment, what is accurate and what's not.
So when you ask somebody a direct question, you don't think it's important that what they're telling you is the truth?
It's not a question of importance when you're doing this kind of evaluation.
Okay, well, I'm confused. If they're lying to you and you're making diagnosis based on their lies.
I'm not making diagnoses based on their lies.
Okay. You're basing it on what they're telling you, right?
No, the diagnoses that I made were based on
All right, no, we're going to need to bring out the cloak of tism. I don't understand what she's saying. None of this logic's putting my arm in it. We're just keeping the cloak on. There's no way we can handle this uncloaked. Would help if I could put clothes on myself. Nope, we cannot do this. We will not be uncloaked for this. Based on what Tanner said, you numpty. You guys see why I have a problem with the soft sciences? It is too subjective to be scientific. They are not replicable. Her diagnoses will not be repeated by the state's practitioners, which isn't abnormal that you might, in a subjective science, get different diagnoses. But no, none of this is happening. I have my cloak on. It's too early. It's too early to have to put my cloak on, but let's get it. All right. Now I feel like Miss Cleo. Ooh, maybe we will. Ooh, Courtney Clenny, watch out. I've got your trial ready to go. All right, we've got the cloak of tism. I don't know if it's going to help us or not, but maybe it will help us evade the illogic.
on not only what he told me, but on information from records, educational records, social history, collateral informants, medical records. So in a forensic evaluation, you never just rely on what the person is telling you.
But you've told me there are certain things in here that you relied on that are solely within the knowledge of the defendant in this case.
Maybe it would help if you told me exactly what those were and how they were relevant.
Okay. Well, I mean, he's telling you certain things.
Right.
And you're telling me that his truthfulness as to those certain things that he's telling you really doesn't matter.
It's not quite that simple. It's clear that he...
Okay, ma'am, do you understand that there is a parody of nuance that you're puppeting here? Yes, everything is usually or generally more multifaceted and does have nuance, but you are taking nuance to parody here. Yes, there is a way that you can human contort yourself to make everything Tanner does part of his psychiatric issues and mental health things. That doesn't make it the way that people are going to perceive it. And you can make things so nuanced that you can basically justify everything. This is the problem that people have with the soft sciences. You can manipulate the experiment, you can manipulate how you interpret things, cherry picking things out to basically get your confirmation bias.
on several occasions. What you mentioned before, that he used acid multiple times between the ages of 20 and 29, that came from him. It wasn't really all that relevant to the diagnostic issues.
Samantha Shoelover, you missed this witness saying that even though she gets a vast majority of her information in this report from self-reported things from the defendant, it's still completely not a problem if he lies, because she is able to detect lies and truths. She is able to interpret Tanner due to her super duper, the Ohio State magical powers. And I mean, I am here for it. Apparently, she is here to explain-orate Tanner, and she is going to explain how nothing is his fault. Legitimately, guys, it is going to get to that level of parody. But I am wearing my magical cloak of logic or tism, depending on which you want to use. So I am protected from the babble that is coming from her.
That I think were relevant to this particular case.
But if you're making a diagnosis on someone and it's based on what they're telling you and what they're telling you is untrue, how can you rely on that diagnosis?
I think we're probably on a different plane in terms of diagnoses. So, for example, if Mr. Horner had been the only person presenting me with information that he had autism spectrum disorder, I would not have relied on that. I would not have made that diagnosis. It's only because there was collateral information, there were many records, as well as my evaluation of him that indicated that that was a legitimate diagnosis to make.
But let me ask you this, since we're talking about truthfulness, you agree with me that if the person you're interviewing is not telling you the truth about certain things in your that you're asking them, doesn't that call into question their truthfulness about other issues as well?
Yes.
So if they lie to you now, probably a liar later.
I wouldn't say that. They could be lying later.
And I would think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, it would be important for you to disclose to us in your report if somebody is being untruthful to you. You believe that's important, right?
It depends.
So how do you pick and choose what you tell us when somebody's being untruthful?
Well, first of all, the report and what needs to be in the report is pretty much dictated by what has to be disclosed in the report. I didn't.
Wait, the report is dictated by what has to be disclosed in the report. That is not at all descriptive of what needed to be in the report. I hate people that answer the question that don't answer the question. And welcome, Emily C. Fake Lolly. Thank you, thank you. No, I'm beginning to think that my hypothesis that people that go into psychiatry and, well, I'm just gonna say psychiatry, are here to figure out what's wrong with them? I don't know. Let's get back. I love the state. The state's like, "Talk logic to me." Talk logic to me. We needed this, y'all. That's why I started early. We needed this after yesterday, after the assault on stable thought process that yesterday was. We needed this.
Put the facts of the offense in the report. So that's not there, but I did disclose my notes to you. So you have those.
Mm-hmm. All right. But what you're saying is, what I'm trying to get here is that you picked and choose what you put in your report. You left some things in your notes and you put some things in your report. You made those decisions.
I made the decisions about what would go into the report. There was 18 and a half hours of interviewing and the report was already 38 pages. I didn't put every single thing into the report.
But you dictated what you felt was important for your report and then left out the other things that were not.
I think the word important is not really accurate.
What in the Ken Starr, like, meetings? What the hell? Or hearings? If is, well, it depends on the definition of is. I mean, what in the semantics is going on here?
I put in the report what I thought was relevant to making a diagnosis.
Yes, RJ and Elsie, this woman has heard the audio, and I believe she might have been privy to other things. So again, this is the part that I can't get over, because I can totally agree that every defendant deserves to have their constitutional rights honored. That being said, there is a way that you could have presented his deficits. Ethically, morally, and maintain, your stance on the death penalty. But whatever this woman is doing is not science.
And there are plenty of things, as
Activism.
you are probably well aware in my notes, that are quite favorable to Mr. Horner that I didn't put in the report. I didn't.
What? And thank you so much, Alice G. By the way, Mo, my hubby, listens along with me to your live broadcast. He doesn't listen to any podcast. Thank you so much. I'm so glad it's all like your opinion, man. This is why I have a really hard time with these kind of sciences. And it's not that I discredit them at all. It's, it's not that I discredit like the science in and of itself, but it's the people that use it like this and use it incredibly horribly to give out a wrong impression that really bother me.
Think that they were necessarily relevant to my diagnoses and opinions.
We didn't talk about your notes yesterday, did we?
I don't recall them being brought up.
So as part of your report, you put a list of information and records and things that you reviewed in preparation for this case.
Correct.
Up to and including today, is that a complete list of every piece of evidence, report, interview, everything that you've reviewed up until today? Is that a complete list?
Except what I mentioned yesterday where I forgot to.
See, I believe that there was some shenanigans. I think maybe she looked at something or got into something that the defense didn't tell the state just because of those questions. I think it might have come out last night because you're going to see the state start really digging into her. And both sides, the gloves are going to start to come off. Now, this woman, you can tell she is snippy. She does not like her opinions questioned. She is, in fact, the science. Yes, she goes full Fauci with it. So hang on to your belts, guys.
Put the interview that I did with the in-home therapist as one of my collateral informants.
So that's it. You haven't reviewed any additional evidence at any point up until including today?
I don't believe so.
That's what we would call a softened answer. Normally, if you absolutely know that you're innocent, you don't hedge your bets like that, especially when you're on the stand. Well, when you're on the stand, you do hedge your bets in case you are found to be perjuring, but that's a cover your ass answer. That's not, I believe in my work and what I have produced.
And I was a little confused yesterday. We talked a little bit about your bill and you said something about it goes to Ohio State, something like that. It sounds like if we add together today, your bill is close to $100,000. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
I apologize. I am not a Texan, but to the taxpayers of Texas, I apologize that the defense got to waste $100,000 of your money to go to Ohio State. I'm pretty sure that there will be legislation passed against giving Ohio State any money ever again.
All right. So I tried to keep up with it yesterday, but how many actual diagnoses did you come up with for the defendant in this case? Was it 6 or 7?
There were 10, actually.
10. I think one of those, and I'm just going to ask you this, one of those is something to do with PTSD. Did you make that diagnosis?
I did.
Have you read the report from Drs. Spence and Imhoff in this case?
I did, yes.
And they indicate he doesn't have PTSD, correct?
I don't recall if they said that he did or he didn't. I got those reports, I believe, after I had completed my evaluation and report.
If they say that he doesn't have PTSD, Are you wrong or are they wrong?
I believe I'm correct.
No one has ever looked at you and thought you were correct, ma'am. I'm just glad you haven't run into my Aldi's, pushing on your gas pedal instead of your brake. I don't go to Aldi's anymore. It's happened twice when I'm in the store, and no one was hurt. You know, bless everyone, but nope.
So Emhoff and Spence are wrong. Okay. Now, we talked a little bit about fetal alcohol. And I know you're not an expert on fetal alcohol. I'm not going to ask you that. But you did give us some information yesterday about fetal alcohol. It's not syndrome. There's something else. It's alcohol exposed. Is that what you said yesterday?
Fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, as opposed to fetal alcohol disorder.
I'm going to write that down here. Now, what I'm confused about here is so you're not saying that every woman that doesn't know they're pregnant and parties or drinks a little bit is going to give birth to a child with fetal alcohol syndrome disorder.
Spectrum disorder.
Sorry,
yes.
Spectrum disorder. Sorry.
Correct. I'm not saying
You're
that.
not saying that.
No.
So there's not an actual number of drinks or whatever. Some people party a lot and don't give birth to a child that has any type of fetal alcohol problems, correct?
That's correct.
Maybe you can bill
You
insurance
mentioned
more.
something and you made a statement yesterday that your diagnoses went to show how Mr. Horner came to be the person he is. Is that an accurate quote?
Yes.
The defense is trying to say that basically, and this psychiatrist is basically going to go full hog. She is going to say that nothing is Tanner's fault. It's going to get ridiculous.
But in this case, let me just ask you, a lot of stuff that we had in this case was covered by pretty much all the diagnoses you gave. For example, you said he wasn't able to handle stress, right?
He has a great deal of difficulty handling stress.
Because of his autism. That's what you said.
The combination of his autism.
Wait for it. He's leading her in. It's beautiful, guys. Just watch a masterwork.
His trauma history, PTSD symptomatology.
But that stress we're talking about, that stress, you mentioned that was FedEx causing him that stress because you said they changed his routes.
No, that would be too simple an explanation. I mean, the architecture of his brain is such that these kinds of stressors cause him to become very emotionally dysregulated.
Well, let me ask you again, the stress that you referred to and you listed out was something to do with his work changing stress, correct?
Yes.
And it was something to do with his girlfriend at the time and whatever was going on with their child.
That was one thing.
So I'm just giving you some examples here. That was something else.
Yes.
Correct? And that essentially that these were all things that were happening in his life, right? These were life stresses for him.
Yes.
And I'm just going to ask you, don't you think that some of those life stresses, for example, the things you were talking about, maybe were caused by doing drugs and partying all the time, some of those life stresses?
I don't think that doing drugs helped the situation, but no, I don't believe that these stressors were, well, they were life stressors that.
Okay, that's the first time the page has gone down. Interesting. Oh, dear Lord. Life stressors, not drugs, guys. Guys, don't do stressors. Weird Nancy Reagan tells you not to. All right, let's see. Back.
So that in and of itself is.
So you don't think that the fact is he had problems at his work, with his girlfriend, and his life had something to do with potentially work ethic?
No, I don't.
Oh, no, she's sorry. We're back on the apology train. This is a little, we have more
Give birth
excuse.
to a child with,
Okay, wait, no, that's about right.
I'm gonna write that down here. Now, you're not, these are drinks a little bit. Let me ask you, a lot of stuff that we had in this case was covered. You said that stress because you said they changed his routes.
No, that would be too simple an explanation. I mean, the architecture of his brain is such that these kinds of stressors cause him to become very emotionally dysregulated.
Well, let me ask you again, the stress that you referred to and you listed out was something to do with his work changing stress, correct?
Yes,
And it was something to do with his girlfriend at the time and whatever was going on with their child.
that was one thing.
I'm just giving you some examples here. That was something else,
Yes,
correct? And that essentially that these were all things that were happening in his life, right? These were life stresses for him.
yes.
And I'm just going to ask you, don't you think that some of those life stresses, for example, the things you were talking about, maybe were caused by doing drugs and partying all the time, some of those life stresses?
I don't think that doing drugs helped the situation.
No, that first part of the statement was correct and should have just been the whole statement. I don't think, and then go on to the next question.
But no, I don't believe that these stressors were, well, they were life stressors that
Y'all, life stressors and things that make you do things to escape are two very different things. There are no known correlations to people self-medicating with not street legal pharmaceuticals due to life stressors. JKD Buck, it is going to get to parody. It is nearly, it legitimately, I'm going to start laughing, you guys. That's how bad it gets.
I don't know that they were caused. I mean, there are life stressors that come up, you know, the postpartum depression, the financial distress, but his inability to cope with those is more biologically based.
So you don't think that the fact is he had problems at his work, with his girlfriend, and his life had something to do with potentially work ethic?
No, I don't.
Okay. You don't think it has anything to do with the fact that he's going out and purchasing narcotics and using them and partying on the weekends?
I don't know anything about narcotics, opioids. He used
Ma'am, I don't know who needs to tell you this, but heroin, cocaine, and Molly are also considered narcotics. Narcotics are just not opiates. It looks like you were alive during the 60s or 70s and probably active in it. How is it you don't know this?
other things, but the drug use,
No, they were talking about the girlfriend having postpartum depression, and Tanner had to, although given her history, she might have given him sympathetic postpartum. I don't know.
in my opinion, the drug use was an effort to kind of modulate his mood and his anxiety level.
Yes, because everyone has, it is a known allegorical fact that crackheads are always mellow. In fact, tweakers, it's kind of a misnomer. They're actually really mellow. They're usually doing yoga. What? Who self-regulates with Molly? Ma'am, this might be a sign that you were from the 70s. Never mind.
Rather than just wanting to go out and party.
So you're saying he wasn't using drugs just to get high. That's what you're saying?
Well, that was probably part of it. But for example, the cocaine use was because he was sleep deprived. He was also using
Rackets, you need to get this woman on your defense. You are simply tired. God dang. Y'all, he was sleepy. For the love of Cheetos, won't someone catch him a break? Debbie, I am not on Facebook as much, but you know, someone clip this for Rackets. We have an expert for him. And I'm just kidding. In all seriousness, I congratulate Rackets on his sobriety. I haven't been keeping tabs on him, but I'm glad that he's making positive steps for he and his family. That being said, if he needs an expert at any time, I'm pretty sure this woman will be available. How credible she'll be, I have no guarantee, but she will be available.
those bangs, which have like 300, but very high potency caffeine. He was using those.
Wait, he was using Monster energy drinks? What about Jolt Cola? Did he have access to Jolt Cola? That's what turned him evil. Ma'am, not everything is an outside nexus, I swear. I am glad that he's doing good. I'm really glad. Yes, apparently he was also self-medicating with caffeine. Welcome to humanity.
To stay awake. And of course, to improve his mood because he was very depressed.
Okay. So whatever he had, whatever was going on.
It's like the ancients foretold it would be back. We must gather the gelflings and the mystics. We're all going to the vitamin shop to get Jolt Cola and reform the dark crystal.
Like that made him use drugs.
That's overly simplified. He did not start to use drugs until he was 18 years old.
Says Tanner, the known liar.
So that in and of itself is somewhat unusual. I think that definitely the substance use began as part of an effort to fit in with the band and fit in with people.
Now it's the band's fault. If he had only lived in the town where Footloose was real, he would have been good.
People that he was hanging out with. So there was a social element to the substance use, yes.
So again, going through this, you indicated yesterday he wasn't able to handle executive functioning. And what was that because of?
Well, he has poor executive functioning. It's not, he can't handle executive functioning,
Right,
but
so
his brain, again, that frontal lobe, prefrontal cortex, he has trouble, in my opinion, because of the combination of the autism spectrum disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, PTSD, all of these. He has trouble with decision-making, judgment, shifting, what we call shifting cognitive sets. You know, when something happens, he has difficulty.
Can I shift him off a cliff? I mean, allegedly in Minecraft. She's hurting my brain. How can you be this? And let's be very, very clear. This woman is intelligent. Intelligent. She does have intelligence. How can she not take a step back and see how horrible all of this is for the argument she's trying to make? How do you become so married to an ideology that you don't realize that you're shooting your very argument in the foot with the the concessions that you're making, the pretzel you have to put yourself in to make him a victim. Do you not ever stop and think, gosh, this is really hard to make excuses for all of this. Maybe I am trying to conform this defendant to my confirmation bias and not to what he's telling me. Do you ever take an objective look? This is one of the things about humanity that always confused me, how people's actions can actually misrepresent their argument so incredibly that they are essentially working passionately against themselves. It's the weirdest thing to watch and observe. I have the same kind of bemusement with the defense. If they truly are ideologically opposed to the death penalty, why are they making such horrible, god-awful arguments? You would think they would do a better job. I don't get how you're so bad at something you're trying to do. Look, and I do the same things. I'm just confused.
Thinking about alternatives, that's executive function.
Okay. And that was, so then you said he had poor impulse control, and that was because of his depression?
No, poor impulse control, that's part of executive functioning, but also he has severe ADHD. He also, those two are the major reasons.
And you said something about it was hard for him to tell the truth, so he had to create this fake person, and what caused that?
I don't think it's as simple as there's something that caused it. As I said yesterday, I think that Zero gave him the ability to confess and distance himself from the horribleness that he had actually done.
And you said something about, you mentioned that he lied a bunch during the investigation, and you attributed that to he was feeling pressured or overwhelmed or something like that. Is that right? And that's why he lied? That's
part of it, yes.
And then you said that if we don't see him showing remorse, it's this thing called alexithymia. Is that what you said yesterday?
That's one.
I love how dismissive he is of all of these excuses. And as someone who, gosh darn it, legitimately has a hard time with their emotions to the point that Mr. Mo and I, like I told you guys, I cried about the fact that he was going to throw the slime away. Okay, I am not in touch with my feelings. But I care about people enough, and I know how shitty it feels when someone dumps their, bad day on you, that I go out of my way to make sure I don't, make someone feel crappy. I try to use kind words. I've not always been great at it, but my inability to figure out what schmad, is, or what happy, sad feeling in a blender I have, has never stopped me from being a kind or a butt monkey. I always had the choice on how I could respond, regardless of how I could identify my feelings. I am aware I have them, though. I do know I have them. They just confuse the hell out of me.
One of the things,
Okay.
Go ahead.
So let's talk about this. You said you said severe depression.
Yes.
And I think you listed a whole, like a long set of symptoms or something that goes with that, right?
Yes.
That's on page 4 of your report,
Yes.
right? You said things like he had fatigue and low energy.
Yes.
And apparently it has something also to do with ability to concentrate. Right, that's what you said on here as well. That's one of the
That's one of the criteria
Okay.
of depression that he exhibited or had problems
But I mean, to be honest, man, if he's out doing drugs, staying up all night, and he's fatigued and having all these problems, don't his own life choices cause these same symptoms?
I took those into account, and he wasn't staying out partying all night. That was when he went with his fiance on weekends. But he was having trouble sleeping and was sleep deprived during the week also.
Let me think. What are the side effects of uppers? Doggone it. Does it just stay on the weekends? Does anyone know? Well, he was having a hard time sleeping. Well, he was doing lines of nose candy. Well, have you thought he has autism? What? For the love of Schmeados.
So one has to,
Thank you, Tammy.
basically in my judgment, that the sleep deprivation was primarily related to his depression.
It wasn't related to him playing video games all night, doing coke on the weekends, smoking weed, things like that. You don't think that was related to why he's got fatigue and low energy?
I don't believe that was the cause, no.
Pray tell, what are we blaming Tanner's shit on now? Let's see, his neurons, his axons, the gray matter, the white matter, Mars being in retrograde, him being a Sagittarius, his low T count, my low give a fuck count. I mean, seriously, at what point does Tanner have any agency whatsoever?
Now, at the very end of page 4, I think we've already talked about this. You said at the very end of page 4, he says, it led to the use of substances. My vernacular is not that good, but ameliorate means to somehow fix his distress.
Lessen
his distress. So he had all this distress, and that made him turn to drugs.
Again, that's overly simplified, but he had that distress prior to using drugs.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out, was he just powerless to resist doing coke and smoking weed and doing acid and doing Molly and all that stuff?
I believe me and the state prosecutor might have just become best friends. He was powerless. He was just unable to say no. I love that. You can tell the state prosecutor is having none of this bullshit. He has had to sit quietly and listen to this defense basically say this poor man had no agency. It was all his brain's fault. And I love how absolutely no fucks given he is being with her. I bet. And I think this is a choice. I do want to stop here. I believe he looked at the jury because this is much looser than we've seen him with any other witness. I believe he saw the general discuss with this woman from the jury and how she refused to make Tanner responsible for anything. And I think we're going to see a little bit more freedom from him. We haven't seen him really outside of being very, very kind of controlled. But I think we're going to have a little fun with this witness. I think he is letting go of the reins a little bit, and this is going to be fun. Yeah, he can read the room. He might have his own cloak of some sort, but he is perceptive.
Was he just powerless to resist that?
No.
So he made a choice to do that.
Yes.
You talked a little bit about having issues with his job, right? I think you had several paragraphs in here that talk about his work history and his occupation history. I think that's on page 9. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I'm just going to get a couple examples. There's a lot in here, a couple of examples. You said on page 9, I'll just go to the one about working at Outback, since you mentioned that yesterday. You said that whatever he does not appear to be from lack of motivation. That's what you said, right? Is that on page 9?
Especially as he got older, yes.
Right, doesn't appear lack of motivation. Right? And then let me go to your notes here. How many pages were your notes?
I don't know. I didn't number them.
Okay, you didn't number them. Judge Mount, approach.
Yes.
If I told you they were 140 pages, would you disagree with me?
No.
And I'm going to show you. Can you just look at those and see if that?
Watch this, because she goes petty, and he drops the petty hammer, because this woman thinks she can snap back at our favorite prosecutor ever. We cannot. No, he is a Jedi master. Watch him work. This is not the petty point you think you're going to make, ma'am.
Is a representative of your notes?
Yes, they're mine.
Okay, well, hang on to those. We're going to make this.
Okay.
I did put some tabs on here. Those are not your notes, but I didn't want to have you flipping through all. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay, because they weren't page numbered. Okay. You said in your report, working for Outback, that he was overwhelmed with the dishes piling up. That's what you say right here?
Yes.
Okay, will you go to number 2 on your records right there?
Yes.
Would you tell the jury what he sent a text to his boss at the time? What did he send to his boss before he left?
Job, Outback dishwasher, told boss, F off, extra dishes, go outside a little bit, left.
So
Where are you?
I'm right here in the middle of the page. So he texted his boss or told his boss to F off.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm looking in your report. Where is that in your report? What page is that on?
I probably didn't put that in my report.
Okay. You did put in here that about him explaining to you he was employed at Outback. He was leaving when he became overwhelmed by the dishes piling up. But the rest of the story is he told his boss to F off and he left. Correct?
Yeah.
After he left,
Right.
I told his boss.
Okay. Now, when we start looking at this,
He read Emily Post. He knows you retire and then you quit and then you tell them to F off in your 2-week notice.
you said he had a couple of suicide attempts. And I'm going to go over this quickly. I think they're in here. I don't remember where they are in your report. You'll agree with me, he had 2 primary ones, one in 18 and one in the jail in 23. Is that right?
No, he had 3.
Okay. Well, 2 that we know about because we have medical records, and then another one that they explained to you later at a later time about what he did. The family explained to you what he did.
And him, yes.
Right, and him, yeah. So let's talk about the one in 18. You said that it was something to do about a girl who broke up with him. That was his stress at that time.
Yes.
But yet before he did it, he kind of, I'm going to use just my vernacular, he kind of phoned it in and told her that he was going to do this 10 minutes before, right?
Yes, for her to watch it.
For her to watch it. And then did you review the JPS records and the notes about what he told the doctors, why he went ahead and did this?
I did review them.
Okay. And the JPS records reflect that he claims he staged his suicide to make his girlfriend mad. Did you read that?
Yes.
Okay.
So you counted that as a legitimate attempt, even though he said that it was absolutely a manipulative tactic, but you presented it to the jury as though it was a, sincere attempt. That's gross. And it's gross what he did.
I was looking in your notes and your report. Is that in here?
If it's not in there, then no.
Okay. So he gave a reason of why he did whatever he did, that he staged it to make his girlfriend mad.
That he was going to suicide to make his girlfriend mad. Yes.
Right. Okay. And then the one in 23, you read the jail records, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you realize on that one, he kind of phoned that one in too, right? He hit the button, and then when did whatever he did, and when they didn't answer, they came to find him. That's what the record reflects.
That he hit the button.
Yeah, he hit the button
Yes,
and never
yes.
called. And then when he didn't answer, they came running. Right?
Yes,
So these are not legitimate attempts, in my personal opinion. They are a cry for help or a manipulation tactic, in my opinion. Simply in these cases with Tanner. Ew. That would create a nexus of evil that would create a black hole, and I don't think the universe needs that. Ugh. But they would be perfect for each other. They're the yin and yang of douche and idiot.
I think so.
Okay. So we kind of phoned it in again the second time, right?
I don't know that he phoned it in, but I believe he probably began to panic and press the button.
Okay. So I'm going to go through a couple of quotes in your report here. I want to make sure I get this right. On page 5 in your report, I just want to make sure that this is your quote here. It says, the cognitive distortion caused by severe depression leading up to the offense contributed to his already precarious ability to solve problems and deal with stress. That's what you were talking about before, about him having problem-solving issues. Is that right?
Problem-solving issues as part of his autism,
Right.
compounded by the cognitive distortion of depression. Yes.
Right. That's one of the things he had a problem, an issue with.
Yes, I love you. Look,
Yes.
not the face.
And then you said, and I think, I'm
Nope.
gonna get this quote right here. You said his impulsivity combined with the core deficits of autism spectrum disorder, cognitive distortion secondary to clinical depression compromised his ability to deal with stress leading up to and during the offense, right?
Yes.
And those are those stressors you were talking about the other day with life, work, car, finances, things of that nature.
Yes.
Okay. Now those sound like things that most people deal with every day. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And, you know, even you, according to you, showing up unannounced, that threw him for a loop and caused him a bunch of stress.
Yes.
So his reaction, due to his autism spectrum, I'm gonna get this right here because it's not additive, it's compounding, right? That's the word you use. Am I getting
Yes.
that right? Okay.
I love how he's leading her, how he's like, so he has no ability to problem solve. And then he's going to say, oh, but he did cover the camera and he did lie to the police and he did make up all of these things. So how is that not problem solving? I mean, he lied, he figured out a solution, as horrific as it was. He did what he pleased and he hid it. How are none of those, at all problem solving?
His reaction to his autism plus his depression plus stress, his reaction to that, and plus the drugs, was to kidnap a child. That was his eventual reaction. All those things put together, that was his reaction, was to kidnap Athena.
The precipitant was panicking because she saw him snorting cocaine.
And we only know that from Tanner.
So that, when we talk about this, that precipitant, that is what you told us yesterday, that's the point of the spear, if you will. That's where this thing begins, according to you.
Yes.
That's where the catastrophe begins.
Yes.
Sir.
And so according to you, if there is him, if he doesn't see him or she see him snorting coke, none of this happens.
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
my opinion, yes.
Okay. Now, you said you used a term, and I want to get this correct here, a precarious ability to solve problems. That's what you wrote in here.
Yes,
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but he didn't have any problem solving the issue of how to get rid of the body of the child he just wrote, did he?
no,
He didn't have any problem solving the issue of how he was going to keep access to his crime scene the next day, did he?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay, I'll tell you about that. You understand that he manipulated the scene and he manipulated other people so he could keep the van in which he murdered Athena in the next day.
That wouldn't surprise me, but I didn't know about any manipulation.
Well, I mean, you understand that, one, he was in the same truck the next day.
Yes,
And you understand that the reason why he was in the same truck the next day, because he called his boss, lied to his boss and said he'd thrown up in the truck
oh, yes,
and he needed that. You remember now?
yes,
So he manipulated people, his boss, family, and other people to keep his crime scene the next day
yes,
and drove his crime scene around the next day, correct?
yes,
So he didn't have any problem solving the issue about how he was going to keep access to his crime scene the next day. He didn't have any problem solving issues with that.
No.
correct.
And he didn't have any issue solving the problem about how to create this whole lie about backing into her and all the details about that. He didn't have any problem solving that issue, did he?
I don't know, problem, but he lied about it, yes,
Well, I mean, he created a very detailed scenario of exactly what he did
yes,
to solve the problem and how to explain why she ended up in the truck in the first place, correct?
correct.
So he didn't have any problem solving issues with that, did he?
Well, how he solved the problem was obviously very disturbed and foolish, but that was how he problem solved.
And did you notice that, whenever he shows up to the truck stop, he was able to manipulate the clerk into giving him free cleaning supplies? Did you hear that?
Yes, but manipulate, he just asked.
Well, in fact, he didn't just ask. He said,
No.
do you want me just to kick this out on your concrete, or do you want to give me free cleaning supplies?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said.
Uh-huh.
So he manipulated the clerk to give him free things so he wouldn't have to purchase anything.
Okay,
Is that correct?
yes,
And purchasing things leaves a trail, doesn't it?
I didn't think of that, but
Do you think of anything? Sir, I am petting you. I have to run a stream too.
so many things that he did that left a trail, so I wouldn't see that as particularly critical.
And you understand that he's doing these things, these problem-solving type actions within 10 minutes of him tossing her body in the water.
Yes,
It sounds like to me that his problem-solving is working just fine at this point, correct?
I would say it's not.
Well, it sure didn't slow him down, did it?
It did not.
So now we talked a little bit about drug use earlier. And if you'll go to number 1 in your notes there, I think it's on that. At the bottom of the page, you highlight something in orange, right?
Yes,
It says there, cocaine 2 weeks before. Is that an up arrow meaning increase? Is that what that means?
yes,
And then next to it, you write not ACCU. Is that not accurate?
yes, that's what it would mean.
Okay, so you didn't believe him when he told you that?
I don't know why I wrote it. I don't remember now.
You don't remember why you used charting shorthand to indicate that the patient had an increased intake in in narcotic use that is known to put you in an agitated state, and you don't know why you found it important to chart that, to label that, and then to say it was inaccurate?
Now, did you put that in your report somewhere?
I don't know.
Okay. You want to take a look and see if you put it in there?
Are you saying it's not in?
I'm asking you if that particular bit of information about his drug use in the week before is contained within your 38-page report.
I know that I had his use of cocaine prior in the report.
You didn't put it in, ma'am. He doesn't ask questions. He doesn't
I
already know
have
the
down,
answer.
Mr. Horner had not used cocaine for about a month prior to the offense, but on the day of the offense, he was exhausted and anxious and used cocaine several times in the hours leading up to the offense. So I'm not sure why I have down not accurate, if it may have been that I had a collateral source that said he didn't have access to it or what. I don't know.
So you don't know and you don't remember.
I don't.
Now, the second thing you said, any prediction you would have made about him committing a murder, that would have been incorrect, correct?
Correct.
Now, I want to make sure I'm clear with this. The entirety of your report about him catastrophizing, did I get that word right again? Catastrophizing?
Yes.
Is based on the presumption of this single act of him seeing Athena, or Athena seeing him doing coke. The entirety of your assessment is based upon that particular act.
I wouldn't simplify it like that.
Well, let me help you. In this case, anything that has to do with the catastrophe starts with that one single thing. In this case, his belief, somebody had seen him doing cocaine.
And everything else that would follow from that.
Right. But if that act, that what he's telling you, the story he's telling you about her seeing him is untrue and that is false, then everything below that is also false, correct?
I don't know that everything below that would be false, but it would certainly change things.
The entirety of your theory that he catastrophized, if that particular story he told you is untrue, like all the other lies he told you, then the whole thing about catastrophizing, all of that fails as well.
No, not about catastrophizing. No, that is something that he has exhibited long before the offense. So
He has
But
current
he does.
catastrophizing
Your theory
spectrum
is
syndrome.
about what happened on the day of the event is dependent upon that one event.
that set it off.
Now, part of this, and this is where I'm going to finish up, ma'am. Thank you for working with me here. You noted in your report in several places where Tanner wanted to be famous, didn't
Yes,
he? Wanted to be a rock star.
yes,
And in fact, he said that was he told you it was his only goal in life.
yes.
And I think you said you listened to some jail calls. Did you listen to a jail call where he's talking about telling his story to maybe make some money? You listened to that.
To get out of, I think it was, again, completely unrealistic and evidence of extremely poor thinking, irrational, that somehow he would sell his story to get bailed out, get enough money to be bailed out.
Well, that's what he's telling you.
Yes, that's what he said on the phone.
Number 11 here, what does he tell you about what he thinks his situation is like. It's on number 11.
I would say no, but she watched it. She watched it to formulate her opinion. I and what the state is very carefully and very, very skillfully showing is that a lot of her opinions are based on Tanner's self-report. Now, she states that she uses collateral witnesses, but she only cherry-picked the things that would make Tanner look sympathetic, and it's very obvious that she wasn't objective. That you are getting, a a very much shaded by her lens of everything can be explained by his mental health, diagnoses, rather than these are objectively probably the truth. These are where Tanner's diagnoses probably did interact, and, he knew right from wrong, but these are where his symptom or his deficiencies really showed up. I have never seen the bending this way, to try to make something fit.
I think he compares it to a movie, does he not?
All right, we're gonna take 10 minutes to during the break, but we're gonna finish with this witness. 10 minutes.
The judge seems a bit irritated today too, which is not good. The only thing bad about starting early is that we do have the entire break to wait. I think the state is doing a remarkable job. Ooh, too big. No, I want the other one. There we go. I think they're doing a remarkable job at getting out that this is very, very subjective, that she is not putting things in. Yes, she is head of, I believe it is the forensic law or forensic psychiatry clinic at the Ohio State. I believe you have to say the Ohio State. And the fact that she has she has billed $100,000 that goes to Ohio State University. I would imagine after this case, there will be a comprehensive look at how much defenses are allowed to spend for these kind of experts, especially when I bet that there are options in Texas that there are mental health, psychiatrists that maybe have the same ideological bent or are against the death penalty that could be used in Texas. And I think that, defenses should have to stay within a budget. The fact that they spent $100,000 on this, and that doesn't include her travel or her speaking at the trial, is ridiculous. Now, I am hearing a little bit of irritation in the judge's voice. I do wonder if there were a lot of shenanigans last afternoon between the state and them that, seems to be a lot about the notes and maybe what she was looking into. So that, and I think that the questioning went a lot longer yesterday evening, and there were those incredibly powerful storms that were coming through. So I don't know, but it does seem like, especially at the end of these long cases, you can start to see people's nerves fraying, and it does seem like we are all getting a little bit tired of the defense's sort of strategy here. It's definitely not, it definitely is one of the worst defenses I've seen, and I feel like every case, I keep saying that. Uh, I do believe this will probably be their last witness. Now, the defendant did come in today in a bit of a swagger, and I honestly cannot tell you that I'm sure that the defense won't call him to the stand. I I legitimately am worried that we're going to get this man on the stand. I don't wanna have to cover him. I don't wanna have to listen to him. But the way they are so monumentally misreading the room, and the way he walked in with a bit of uh, you know, a swagger, I am worried that we are going to hear from the monster's own mouth. Now, I like I said, I tend to be more or I tend to be a pretty good observer if I've had a long time to watch people, and I've had about 14 days, and he walked up in with his head held high and with a bit of a swagger, so I hope that he's not going to testify, but I'm getting the uneasy feeling that he might. Uh, I think he has to be the one to tell the story about the nose candy. This is a brand new story. I mean, it's interesting because some things are kind of normal for this case, like the defense or the defendant coming up with a incredibly obtuse and ridiculous reason that something happened. So his story about him getting caught doing illegal substances kind of reminds me of a very poor Letitia story, uh, just with how it seems to morph, it seems to change. "Sir, I am doing stuff. Could you not assault me to get" See, Mr. Jingles, Nick thinks he's the most put upon cat owner on the tubes. No, no. Thor will bite me if I stop scratching him because he is a butt. Yes. So I could imagine that, let's say we are in a normal timeline. I don't believe, in the unlikely event that he testifies, please, please let the cross be today. Um, I do foresee 2 it sounds like the state has 2 different experts to rebut, the expert's testimony. I'm guessing it's probably going to be about autism, and then, possibly the state might pull the state has been very, very genteel and restrained about the SA aspect of this case, kind of bringing it up when it is necessary. I do wonder if one of the experts will be his potential dangerousness to other girls or if he has proclivities, because I do think that if there is one thing you wanna guarantee, that he maybe gets capital punishment, if there's an expert that says that he has always been attracted to younger women, and I think that, the fact pattern shows it, the state is probably going to take the gloves off. They have had to sit there for 4 days and watch the defense play incredibly dirty. So, hopefully, we see the gloves come off during the rebuttal. And welcome, Broken Baker Raiders. We are, in my opinion, we are on a break, but we are probably coming close to the end of the defense's case in chief. The state is crossing their final expert, a shrinkologist who has basically blamed everything that has ever gone wrong in the defendant's life on uh, Asperger's, though now it is called autism spectrum disorder. He is level 1, ADHD, fetal alcohol syndrome, lead toxicity, and, well, just everything that isn't Tanner's fault. I will warn you guys that having watched this trial, the defendant did come in with a swagger. This defense has been monumentally unable to read the room, and I do believe that they might actually get the defendant on the stand to sort of explain the news story. As you guys, or if you guys aren't aware, this is the case of Tanner Horner. He was a subsidiary or a subcontractor that worked for FedEx, and he kidnapped, assaulted, and took the life of little Athena. The state has been cross-examining the defense's witness or expert witness. They have gotten a lot of points about how her evaluation of the defendant has been very subjective. So I think they did a good job, but it has been particularly galling. Which volume? Is the court too loud? I can't hear what you guys hear, so we are watching the case of Tanner Horner. Now, he has pled guilty to, what are we doing here? He has pled guilty to capital murder, the kidnapping and abduction of Athena Strand, the SA, and the unaliving, along with disposing her body. There's no audio? Now I sound like I'm in a can. Okay. It's sorry. It switched my mic, although I didn't touch anything. Yes, I do tend to not show the defendant. Let me speed ahead. Now, it does appear that he might be taking the stand. This is the longest they've had him on, but he was charged at the first day of trial. He pled guilty. So the state was very clear that what we would get for this particular trial would be very much the same as if uh, we were going through an innocent or guilty trial. They basically presented the entire case, which did include horrifying audio of the incident taking place. Now, that wasn't streamed. The jury was able to watch or had to watch it. This has been an incredibly tough trial to deal with. Although I will say that the judge and the state have been incredibly restrained, respectful, compassionate, and dignified in their presentation and of this case, and their courtesy and grace that they extended to all the witnesses, both defense and state. But this is an incredibly hard case. I do have a 30-second puppy kitten break and a longer, about 2-minute break. Tanner is currently writing something at the table and sending notes. I am not sure what the delay is. He does look a little bit agitated and like he is talking to the court clerk. They are staying very heavily on him, so we might be getting Tanner on the stand. I don't know. The defense has been very, very much of the opinion that everything that happened has been a result of Tanner's diagnoses. Again, agreed upon diagnoses are autism spectrum disorder. He is a level 1, so that it used to be called Asperger's syndrome, but I guess they changed it to autism spectrum disorder. So he does have level 1 ADHD. I don't know as to the level of acuteness or severity of that. Yeah, LPN, or LMP, sorry. For those just joining, we just finished watching the defense expert saying he's not responsible in full, or because full in the blanks, or fill in the blanks, sorry, with all the diagnoses. Yeah, she basically refused to admit with the state prosecutor that his choice to take not street legal pharmaceuticals might have had something to do with his mental health in the days prior to his offense. She said that no, he was regulating because he was tired. It's been very, very difficult to watch the last 4 days of the defense. They have paraded on nearly everyone who knew him as a child in high school, but relatively few people that knew him around the time of the offense. They have done everything to try to say he's had a poor life. I do understand that this is mitigation, and I believe that every defendant should have, his constitutional rights, followed and honored. But there is a way to try these cases and not push the line morally or ethically. And I think the defense has very nearly skated there. They have completely blamed they basically blamed the victim. The last witness blamed the victim. The new story in that has just come out in the trial is that Athena caught the defendant doing a line of Colombian nose powder, in the van. He abducted her and decided to unalive her because he was afraid she was going to tell someone about his substance use. Now, this is a whole new story that has never really come out, until the defense shared their side of the story. Now, the way the state is talking, they probably do have video evidence. Uh, Granny Smith, they didn't do other than saying that it was an extremely painful thing, a painful thing for him to disclose that he had done it. They really did not do a good job of explaining what exactly or where, the tism made him a monster. They really did a pretty terrible job. And we are current time, so we are live.
All right, everyone may be seated. Mr. Stegman may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Got a couple of questions, ma'am. Thank you for bearing with us today. Something I wanted to ask you about when it comes to, you made some testimony the other day about future danger in prison. We talked a little bit about that. You would agree with me that there is some probability that the defendant may commit some acts of violence in prison, right?
Yes, there's a probability that anyone will commit acts in prison.
Including the defendant.
Correct.
Now, I'm going to ask you just very simple questions. We talked a little bit about pedophilia disorder.
Yeah, I've been trying not to blow y'all's earballs out, but apparently they decided to lower the volume. So let's see how that goes.
Yes.
And you've reviewed some information in relation to that recently, correct?
Okay, I've got it
What information?
boosted.
You reviewed some information related to your testimony with regard to pedophilic disorder.
I know what pedophilic disorder is.
That information that you reviewed recently in that case, did it change your opinion as to whether or not you had pedophilic disorder?
No.
Now, let me ask you the last question here that I was getting to before. You still have that page of your notes up
Which
where I have the
page?
number 11 on there, if my
Okay,
is correct.
yes.
We're talking about
Not the
Horner's
face.
desire to be famous. What did he tell you and relate this situation to as far as the movie? Would you read that last paragraph on that for us?
Wonders if he made a deal with the devil for fame, money, power, like the movie American Satan.
Read it right.
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Ryan, when you were retained in this case, were you asked to give an opinion on the offense itself?
I don't know what you mean.
When you were retained, were you asked to do an insanity evaluation?
No, that was not what I was retained for.
What was the purpose of your evaluation?
It was a mitigation evaluation.
In a mitigation evaluation, do you focus more on the facts of the offense or the history of the person you're evaluating?
The person you're evaluating.
Brooke and Baker, reality peed in her cornflakes because the state basically torched her credibility. All of it. Every single bit.
Facts of the offense are important,
Yes.
but are those things that you would put in your report?
It would depend on what I was asked to put in my report. I mean, in terms of what I was asked to focus on, and if I was asked to not describe the offense in the report, I wouldn't. It's not an insanity evaluation.
And so for this particular case, your focus was on the history of Tanner?
History, yes. Social development, his mental health.
Dr. Ryan, the prosecutor asked you about self-report. And you had mentioned that self-report was important. But do you rely solely on self-report?
No.
How do you verify these things that you are given to, or given by the person you're evaluating?
Well, in terms of verification, is it maybe not the correct word, but
Corroborate?
yes.
We'll go with corroborate. How do you corroborate what has been self-reported?
Just within the context of the evaluation itself, to be able to weigh inconsistencies and what they mean, and what they indicate, and how they fit into what I've already determined or am determining about the person's cognitive abilities, their cognitive status, more or less, their emotional abilities, as well, and then to look at the body of information that I've received, see if things essentially line up, and also to talk with other sources of information.
In this particular case, in reviewing all of the records and reviewing all of the discovery that you were provided and the almost 20 hours that you spent with Tanner Horner evaluating him, the collateral witnesses that you interviewed, and you interviewed quite a few of them, did all of that line up with the self-report?
Most of it that was, all of it was important, and that went into my opinion.
The prosecutor asked you about the suicide attempts, and he used the phrase, phoned it in. With these suicide attempts, were they serious attempts?
Yes.
Were they almost successful?
Paula, I would go back at this From the start, you're going to get the state's cross, and I think he's very good at pointing out the flaws in her methodology and leading her into some traps of logic that she simply doesn't seem to understand. It is very I think it's very good, so I would go back, now we are on redirect.
Yes,
Does that give you an indication that he phoned it in?
I think they were very serious attempts with an intent to die.
The prosecutor also talked to you about Dr. Imhoff's report and that you did not agree with him on the diagnosis of PTSD. Is it uncommon for different doctors to have different opinions on very specific symptomology?
Well, if the doctors are working with the same body of information, there should be that's called reliability. They should be coming to the same conclusion, but especially in a forensic case, this kind of situation, people have access to different types of information. They may not have met with the person for as long a period of time. They may not have spoken with other collateral sources.
Do symptoms for something such as PTSD, are they present every time you meet with the person you're evaluating?
They're not observable every time.
And so if a person doesn't observe it at that time, does that mean it doesn't exist?
No.
With regards to your report, do you put every detail that you have into the report?
No.
How do you determine what is relevant and what is not?
Well, I think it's important not to cherry pick, for example, and if there's information that goes against my diagnosis, I would indicate why I discounted that, for example. It's important to, I think, in a report that it's very clear why I made the diagnoses that I made and why I came to the conclusions that I came to, why I have the opinions that I do.
And in this case, did you put into your report things that you felt were relevant?
Yes.
Were all the things that you put in your report necessarily helpful to the defense?
No.
Did you feel that it was still important that the jury had that information?
Yes.
So they could make their own determination?
Yes.
There was a lot of talk about problem solving. And I want to go back to, what do you mean by problem solving?
Well, problem solving is different for different situations, right? Some problem solving requires very little executive function on the part of the person making the plan or the problem. So if you have a problem, for example, that you spill coffee on your jacket before going to work, doesn't require a whole lot of executive function to go put something else on. More complicated issues require more executive functioning, better judgment, planning, rational thinking, being able to shift from one thing to another. And then, if you are emotionally dysregulated, that compromises your ability to problem solve. So the more complicated, the more upsetting and distressing a situation is, the more impaired potentially someone with Mr. Horner's deficits are going to be.
Well, the prosecutor specifically said, it sounds like he was problem solving when he cleaned the truck. Sounds like he was problem solving when he covered up the camera. Sounds like he was problem solving. Based upon your training, your experience, and everything that you've reviewed in this case, what is your opinion about Tanner's ability to problem solve in that situation?
I think it comes down to what's his ability to problem solve in a reasonable way. And on some level, you can say, well, it's reasonable to clean up your crime scene, right? But when you look at the totality of his problem solving, you recognize how poor it is.
Yes, criminals are stupid. That doesn't mean they get a pass with mental health. Again, you are the ones that are chronically talking about there needs to not be a stigma. Well, what's going to cause a stigma more? Making it an excuse, using the cloak of autism to, cover Tanner so that he doesn't have to take any responsibility?
In what way?
Well, for example, he was aware that his boss has access to these cameras. That's why he covered up the camera when he's snorting cocaine. So it's not good problem solving to think that he's going to get away with this because he cleans out the back of the truck.
You brought up the covering up the cameras. There were a lot of assumptions that were being made about why this may or may have happened. I mean, covering up the cameras. So the question I have is covering up a camera after a kidnapping indicative of planning to kidnap?
No.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I think it's an indication of his poor planning and problem solving. There really wasn't planning involved, right? So if he had planned it, he would, we talked yesterday about the difference between IQ and some of the other deficits that he has. He would not have done this in the way he did if he had planned to kidnap Athena.
He was so dysregulated that he was a moron. He would have done better. It's not the defense I thought we would have.
The other thing that the state had asked was about actions and consequences. Would it make sense to uncover a camera while you're trying to clean up the evidence of a crime?
No.
You were also asked about the story of the snorting of the cocaine and him catastrophizing that incident. And you were specifically asked, do you have any evidence that he was snorting cocaine? My question is, do you have any evidence that he wasn't doing what he said he did?
No.
Which brings up the difference between malingering versus lying. Please explain to the jury what the difference is between malingering and lying.
Well, malingering involves lying, but lying doesn't have to involve malingering. So, in my opinion, the lying that Mr. Horner has done has been consistent with.
No, you were asked to explain the difference between lying and malingering. You failed to explain either. Yes, you do lie while malingering, but malingering is intentionally increasing the severity or the existence doing something. You can malinger to sick hall. If you're in the military, you can malinger if you're in a psychiatric evaluation for legal reasons. Lying is involved, but it's a manipulation of an attempted manipulation of symptoms or diagnoses to get out of something.
the lying that people with autism spectrum disorder do. It's fear-based, basically to avoid getting into trouble.
That's how normies lie to avoid to get out of trouble. You don't have to have the cloak of tism to lie to get out of trouble. Are you kidding? Yes. There are more rhinestones involved.
That's the way I would see it, rather than, well, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, well, continue.
No, I think it's
Okay.
cognitively driven by his poor problem solving and his difficulties with executive functioning. But fear is a major driver, emotional dysregulation by being afraid.
Do you take into account the deficits that a person exhibits when determining whether they are malingering versus lying?
Yes,
And in Tanner's case, did you detect that he was malingering in any way?
no, and malingering has to do with fabricating or grossly exaggerating a disorder, for example, a physical or psychological disorder. So lying isn't the same as malingering. So as I said before, malingerers lie about their disorder, for example, to get into the hospital or to whatever. But you can lie without being a malingerer.
And Dr. Ryan, there was a lot of talk about manipulation. When we're talking about, and, well, let me back up. The state asked you about antisocial personality disorder
Yes,
and spoke about manipulation and impulsivity, irresponsibility, callousness, things like that. Based upon your evaluation, did Tanner meet the criteria for antisocial personality disorder?
no,
Did he exhibit,
Wait, that's the only diagnoses. You gave him like 27 or 10 diagnoses. So he had all of the DSM-5 but one?
a pervasive pattern in this case?
no.
And I'm gonna ask you to explain to the jury, what do we mean by a pervasive pattern?
A pattern over a period of time. Now, and that's in the criteria for antisocial personality disorder, why you have to have met the criteria for conduct disorder prior to the age of 15. Because you would be talking about a persistent pattern over years of behavior that is not only illegal, but is not, defies the rights of others, doesn't take into account the rights of others.
So when we're talking about a pervasive pattern, does that mean that it's, a one and done? Or, if somebody snaps and they do something, does that qualify in and of itself as being a pervasive pattern?
It's not a one and done. It's not even a five and done. I mean, you have to have a persistent pattern of this kind of behavior across antisocial behavior, across numerous realms, I guess.
Now, with regards to the diagnostic criteria for antisocial personality, does one have to fail to conform to societal norms with respect to lawful behaviors?
Yes,
And would that be indicated by repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrest?
yes,
Did you find that in this case?
no.
Did you not find it because he wasn't caught or no one looked into his alleged assaults of those teenagers? Because he could very well have antisocial personality disorder, but be highly functional enough to have not interacted with the police. You just didn't maybe find it. But if his crimes weren't reported, then you wouldn't have a pattern, now would you? I mean, you use the same logic to claim that he covered the camera not to enact a kidnapping, but to hide cocaine use. So how is it different if I can speculate all of this? Lawyer's daughter, I would not take anything this woman says seriously. I'm not a doctorologist. I'm a mom of 6 who likes trials. That being said, of all the experts I've seen, she is the most mind captured to an ideology. She is very much of the mind that criminals are a product of their environment, of medical factors, and not of any choices or any, you know, willpower of their own. They can't make choices, that all of this is foisted upon them. She is so incredibly blinded by the tabula rasa theory of human development that she cannot see that Tanner was fully capable of executing a heinous crime, and, his diagnoses didn't cause it at all. The defense trying to use this for mitigation, but I would encourage you to not listen to anything this woman says. She's very captured to a certain thought pattern, and I haven't taken her seriously. Because autism, if you do any research, does not have a direct correlation to violent outbursts. Neither does fetal alcohol syndrome, neither does lead toxicity. Now, ADHD can lead to impulsivity that can cause, increased instances of violence. But we all know people with these diagnoses or ranges of these that never do those things. So the one thing that has been very encouraging is that a lot of people are pushing back on the defense's use of autism in particular. In this case, autism is the main sword and shield of the defense. And many people, now that the spectrum is so broad, know a neuroatypical person, know a neurodivergent person, or might be one themselves, and can tell you that they've never been tempted to do any terrible, horrific thing to people. So that has been the one encouraging thing, especially as someone who knows a lot of people with ASD and knows how awesome they are. It has been incredibly disheartening to see the defense do this, but incredibly encouraging to see so many people push back on it.
Another part of the criteria relates to deceitfulness, such as using aliases or conning others for personal profit or pleasure.
No,
Did you find that in this case?
no.
He lied to young girls about why they were going back to the shed, plied them with alcohol, and then assaulted them. Would you like to rethink your answer? Allegedly in
With
Minecraft.
regards to impulsivity and failure to plan, is that something that was present in this incident?
Yes, and he has been impulsive in the past too.
We talk about irritability and aggression indicated by repeated fights or assaults. Were you able to determine whether or not
Oh,
Tanner
right,
meets
the
that
acid too.
criteria in this case?
Yes, and he doesn't.
What about reckless disregard for the safety of himself or others?
No,
What about consistent irresponsibility as indicated by repeated failure to sustain consistent work behavior or honor financial obligations?
again, in the criteria for antisocial personality disorder, those things can't be related to another disorder. He does have the failure to sustain employment, but in my opinion, that's due to his autism.
Gail, that has been a question, and I don't know if they were functionally transmitting live. I believe that it did go to a cloud server, but I don't know if they had a manned sort of watch room where they were just, clicking through these feeds. I don't know if I'm not a technological wizard, but I think that would be hard to do. I but I do know in this case that in order to view the video, you had to get proprietary software, and the FBI had to bring an SD card. So I don't know if it's if the cloud stuff goes up there. Basically what the expert witness, the vice president of operations, had said is that the company, with the cloud storage, they're looking for like hard stops, texting while driving, things like that. So the AI system that monitors the cloud, I believe, is looking for those specific things. Uh, Now they'll probably add, unknown person in the van now, but I don't believe that having another person in there would have triggered anything. So I don't believe it was being monitored live.
Autism spectrum disorder.
What about lack of remorse?
No.
So you mentioned that the criteria for ASPD, it sounds like it can't occur in a vacuum. That if it can be attributed to something else, you have to consider that something else as well?
Yes, now you can.
Well, and Gail, I do know that he was he was working for a subcontractor as well. So I don't know if there was a different level of package or service they could get. So but I don't know why no one spoke up if this was being monitored live.
Can have both antisocial personality disorder and autism spectrum disorder. Mr. Horner doesn't, in my opinion.
Explain to the jury what is meant by differential diagnoses.
It's the procedure by which physicians, for example, would gradually, they would take into account the symptoms that someone comes in with, and then gradually distill it down based on symptoms, lab tests, for example, to what they think is a group of likely diagnoses. For example, if someone comes in with a cough, that could be a lot of different things causing a cough, right? So then the person tells you that they have blood in their sputum. That narrows it down. Could be bronchitis, could be a virus, it could be pneumonia, it could be tuberculosis, it could be cancer. So then you do more interviewing and testing to kind of narrow it down to what you think the diagnosis actually is.
And lastly, Dr. Ryan, the state asked you about the capacity for extreme violence on the part of Mr. Horner. If Mr. Horner were sent to prison, in your
If I think the if is out of the bag, ma'am. He pled guilty. He's going to when is the word you should be using.
opinion, what level of risk of violence would he be assessed?
In my opinion, he'd be assessed as a low risk of violence. I'm not sure what kind of placement he would have based on the crime, but in terms of his actual violence risk, it would be low.
One moment, Your Honor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. State?
All I'd like to do, Judge, is offer, I think, a market estates 309, the good doctor's notes that you've been talking about in this case.
And you're open to all purposes.
Yes.
Let me try to reset it and see if the audio comes back better.
His anxiety a couple times, what sort of thing?
Oh, for the love of. All right, let's see.
Given by the person you're evaluating.
Well, in terms of
Okay. I'm gonna.
verification,
Holy balls. Okay, sorry for your ear balls. I knew that was gonna happen, and that's why I was worried. I apologize. Okay, we should be back at not kill your ear balls level volume.
maybe not the correct word, but
Corroborate?
yes. No.
With regards to your report, do you put every detail that you have?
Complicated issues require more
Kidnapping indicative of plan?
Oh God, I don't want to listen to either of you two harpies.
The state asked you about
No, we just need to get to
in
the
this
state.
case?
yes, and he doesn't.
What about reckless?
Down based on symptoms, lab tests, for example, to what they think is a group of likely diagnoses. For example, if someone comes in with a cough, that could be a lot of different things causing them. There could be tuberculosis. What you
The state asked you about
Oh God, just go.
309, the doctor's notes that you've been talking about in this case.
And you're open to all purposes.
Yes.
Any objections?
one moment.
Oh, the state in Big D Energy just decided that they were going to ask for the doctor's notes to come in as evidence. I love it. I would be reading the hell out of those. Look, if I was a juror on this case, I would spend at least a good 20 minutes reading her notes because there is a treasure trove of crazy on both ends in that. My professional opinion, not a legally binding diagnosis of crazy. Lawyer's daughter, shrinkologist is because I am a terrible speller. So psychiatrist and psychologist are two of those words that do the PHYC, and I can never remember which combination to do those in, but it's always wrong. So I tend to humorously title people because I can't spell.
No objection, Your Honor.
State's exhibits 3 and 9 will be admitted.
Nothing further.
Dr. Ryan be finally excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
Thank you, Your Honor.
She's got a copy. Yeah.
Who do you have next?
She should be.
Darvader, I never said I remembered. They have a C in them and an S, and I just can never remember. You should see me try to spell psychic. I need a psychic.
In the.
Okay. This is the first one that was listed on y'all. Okay.
Your Honor, if you want me to step out, grab her.
I'm sorry. Okay, that'd be great. Never mind. Go get her.
Why are we doing this? Court TV, we do not put him on in Big End. We just don't.
Okay.
We're blurring someone now. Oh God, defense! I swear to God, are you bringing on the fiance?
Good morning. You raise your right hand on me. solemnly swear or affirm testimony given this cause to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay. There's a rule of evidence in effect says you cannot be in court unless you testify. And once you have discussion, once you finish testifying, do not discuss your testimony with anybody else except for lawyers. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Gold.
Thank you. Good morning.
And if you're new to this trial, I will say that this judge has been incredibly paternal in the very best way. Again, regardless of whether the witness was for the state or the defense, I've rarely heard him get snippy with any of the witnesses. There were a couple times where a witness was a bit sassy, but for the most part, he's been incredibly attentive. I know that people have been kind of upset with how many breaks he's been taking, but he's been incredibly attuned to not only the gallery, but how incredibly difficult this trial is. And he's really been very cognizant of when people need a break and putting it on himself like, y'all, I need to take a break, to give people a chance to reset. So I have said it once and I'll say it a bajillion times. If we had to have this case take place, this state and the judge have been just impeccable.
Good to see you again. For the purpose of this hearing, I'm going to just call you Elizabeth. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Do you know Tanner Horn?
Yes.
And how long have you known him?
About 5 or 6 years.
And how do you know him?
We met through one of his ex-girlfriends at a place I used to work at.
Okay.
Daggone it. Okay, you guys, warning. I realize that who the defense has called, and I am pissed. I believe this might be Shayla, one of the women who Tanner has also been indicted for 2 underage assaults of young girls when he was in a band that he would invite back to his home, get incredibly intoxicated, and take advantage of. And it seems like the defense is going to cross-examine them or has called them as a witness. So buckle in, you guys. But I am worried that this is what this is going to be. I haven't watched ahead. But if they go this low, I cannot.
And so you
Imagine.
mentioned meeting through one of his ex-girlfriends. Are you familiar with kind of Tanner's relationships?
Yes.
And what type of girlfriends did he gravitate towards?
Very controlling women who treated him badly, I guess would be the most polite way to say it.
Would you consider Tanner to be a leader or a follower?
A follower.
Why?
He's
Okay, I might be wrong. It seems like this is another of his exes, but one that thinks that he's the victim in all of his relationships, that he picks out controlling women, which would mean that she was controlling in some aspects, because he's probably, has mommy issues. That being said, why do we need to hear from his ex-girlfriend? We already heard from the ex-girlfriend that thought he was just awesome. Oh, God. So I think I could be incorrect. I believe this might just be an ex-girlfriend, and if so, ick.
more just to go with the flow, not the one to always just sit there and take control. It's easier just to go along with the flow than to go against it.
And did you have an opportunity to see Tanner in a social setting? And if so, how was
He more kept to himself. He would have the social anxiety, so he would kind of just go into himself. He would get really quiet, and he would just lack some certain social skills. So he would just keep to himself a lot of the time.
And you're talking about he's lacking social skills. Can you tell us what that looked like?
Just it's kind of like I was just kind of just feeling awkward whenever there's a bunch of people around and not. Sorry, it's kind of like how I am right now. It's kind of just feeling awkward. It's just not sure what to say, not sure how to initiate the conversations and stuff. Not really having a fully outgoing personality. You just don't want to say the wrong thing and just make the wrong people upset.
Okay. So kind of like being in the spotlight all the time.
Oh yeah.
Now, were you able to observe other people? Did other people pick up on his social awkwardness?
Yes, a lot of people took it the wrong way. They thought that he would come across as a lot of people didn't like him at first. They thought that he was just kind of rude and standoffish. But then
I don't like him now. Welcome to the club. We have a t-shirt. We have a handshake. It's called the We Hate Tanner handshake. I mean, all of us are joining. It's kind of the cool club. I mean,
they got to actually know him, then they're like, that's just him. You actually have to give him an opportunity to open up, and then you see that he's fine.
are you
What
trying
were
to eat my
Tanner's
necklace?
interests? Sorry.
You are a butt monkey.
Definitely music. He loved to play the guitar. He liked to sing as well. One of his favorite bands were Linkin Park.
Sure.
He enjoyed video games. He did like reading as well. Mostly talking about movies and music for sure.
Now, in your experience with Tanner, was he ever violent?
No, not at all.
Did Tanner have friends?
Yes. Not many. We shared the very few select ones.
But in your observation and from your opinion, how did he feel about his friends?
How did he feel about his friends? He absolutely adored his friends. He would do anything for them, and he did have some people take advantage of him because of that kindness. He would give somebody the shirt off of his back, but they wouldn't always do the same for him.
Now, did he ever mention mental health or developmental issues to you?
Yes, me and him talked about mental health a lot.
And well, you talked about it, but did you ever observe any behaviors from Tanner that made you think he had mental health or developmental issues?
Yes, whenever it would come to the short attention span with ADHD and with the anxiety as well in high stress situations.
And what were you talking about, the short attention span, what, like ADHD?
Oh yeah,
Can you expand on that a
ADHD.
little bit?
Yes, getting easily distracted, going off on a tangent, and just having your mind running a certain way. So where he would say something, you would think it's completely random, but it's just the ADHD mind connects a lot of things really quickly, and it comes across to a lot of people as random. But that's just how.
Did you ever see Tanner panic?
Yes.
What would cause him to panic?
Sometimes his women would push him to a certain point.
His women, first of all, in no timeline, including this one, which happens to be the stupid timeline that broke off when they turned on CERN and we're all paying for it. Thanks, CERN. But in no timeline whatsoever did Tanner had a harem of women. He preyed upon socially awkward and inebriated young girls. He did not have a harem of controlling cougars telling him what to do. I love that they found someone delusional enough to say it, though.
To where it feels like they would just try to make him crazy. One of his ex.
Ma'am, do you know what he did? Again, these people do not. How can you know what he did and then said his women did it?
It did something, and we got to see his reaction to it, and he's just grabbing the sides of his head, just trying to calm himself down, but just freaking out.
So that was directed towards himself?
It's mostly directed towards himself. He wouldn't when he was panicking, he wouldn't lash out at people. If anything, people would be trying to calm him down. He would actually like pull himself away.
And you talked about someone doing something intentionally to him, but did it have to be something big or intentional?
No, it can be the littlest of things. If let's say he can't find his favorite hat, he'll freak out and he'll just run around until he finds his hat.
And you mentioned his anxiety a couple times. What sort of things would trigger that?
Again, does the defense not realize how incredibly terrible this is making Tanner look? That he cringed and involved self-injury when he couldn't find a hat, but he was able to drive and be calm and smoke a cigarette, after he unalived a little girl. Again, I may have a weird thought pattern and nebulas of thought, but it doesn't escape me that they keep pointing this out by every example that they use. They're like, "Oh, well, he lost his mind about Mayo. He got really shaky and panicky." He looked like a stone cold monster right after. You guys saw that footage. He did not look upset. His voice was not shaking. He was not rapidly breathing. He was staring straight ahead. He was calm and cool enough to tell multiple people a similar story and get cleaning supplies for free from the gas station. I'm not buying any of this.
Really? Just thinking you did something wrong, if he thought that he said something wrong or upset somebody. If something happened at work, something happened with one of his exes, it varies with everybody, really.
Did you ever believe that Tanner was depressed?
Yes.
And why is that?
He's been through a lot, and I've seen him be put through a lot. That would make.
Ma'am, I get he's your friend, but I'm a you know what? If you want to, here's the thing. If you're this gung-ho about Tanner, you should be this gung-ho and show your face. It's real brave to say all of these things about a monster when you don't have to put your face to it.
That would make any normal person depressed. He's been cheated on. He's been let go from jobs. He's dealt with a lot.
Don't cry for him, Argentina. The truth is he's always been shit. Don't waste your time trying to define. He is a shitball. It doesn't matter. Sorry, sometimes my current dramatic bullshit allergy causes me to break out in show tunes.
And to your knowledge, was Tanner ever on medication?
He wasn't, but that was because he didn't have the resources to start to get on medication. And it's a couple of months before.
He was on a lot of the antipsychotic and antidepressants that are on the formulary for $4 at Walmart. $4 for a month's supply. Now, look, I'm not going to lie and say that healthcare isn't way expensive and and this is so dumb. This is beyond dumb.
Before everything happened, he had actually started seeing someone. He had actually started to get on medication. He was on it for about, I want to say, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, but he was starting to get on medication.
Do you know if anything, or did you see anything that helped with his anxiety and depression?
Music definitely helped. Having some sort of outlet, whether it's just writing, reading.
Might I recommend a fork and an outlet? That's the only outlet I want him to find. Or an inlet with a kraken in it. I mean, again, those are the two choices. If he is allowed an outlet, I'd like it to be electrical, and I'd like him to only have a fork. Allegedly in Minecraft.
Something that could seem so simple to somebody else can be the thing that you look forward to the most.
How did Tanner react to fatherhood?
Honestly, words can't describe how excited and proud he was to be a father. He didn't.
Defense, I implore you, read the room. You have to, at some level, be a human, okay? Can you imagine how incredibly awful, tragic, horrific, and salt in an open wound it would be to talk about how incredibly happy the defendant was when his baby was born, knowing that he stole a baby from another person. The fact that this man has made it through the trial without a Gary Planchet kind of thing happening, I have been shocked. The monumental inability to read the room is going to send this man to death row, and I am not upset about it.
He didn't know, in my opinion, he didn't know how bad he wanted to be a father until he was a father. And then everything just changed.
No, without telling me what he said, did Tanner ever speak to you about his parents?
Yes.
Did he ever talk to you about aspiring to be a better parent to his son?
Yes, but he wouldn't but it wasn't a conversation that came up much. It was something that he didn't always like to talk about.
And here's the thing, you know what? I was a dumbass 22-year-old when I had my first daughter. And you know what I did? I grew up real quick. Everything became about my daughter. Yeah, I tend to be disorganized, but my house, my room didn't have feces all over it, didn't have stuff that she couldn't crawl on. No, my life became about her. I didn't go out on the weekends and try to run my Christian rock band. I didn't go do, Colombian marching powders on the weekend. I didn't live in a shed.
Now, in this case, you're aware that Tanner has pled guilty to kidnapping and murdering Athena.
Yes.
Just got 1 second.
Yes.
Judge, I'll pass the list.
Cross-examination. Appreciate it. Ma'am, you said you've known Tanner for 5 or 6 years.
Yes.
And what was the situation in which you know him? Do y'all hang out? What's the situation?
And do you mean like how I met him?
No, like what did y'all do together?
We would hang out after work with his ex at the time. Sometimes we would go out to the bar and just hang out, dancing. We've gone out to a festival a time or two. But a lot of our work schedules were really conflicting with each other, so we didn't get out much. Sometimes we would hang out at a mutual friend's house
So-
as well.
This time that you hung out with him, going out, going to festivals, over that time that you knew him, how many times do you think you actually did that?
I couldn't say.
You don't have an estimate?
I just don't have an exact number.
Was it every single weekend?
No, I don't think so.
Once a month?
I would say maybe every other weekend would be my best guess.
Yeah.
And you said you knew what he pled guilty to. Do you know what he actually did in this case?
Not, I haven't really been.
This is another part of the defense that in my opinion, unforgivable. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't, have a memorized idea of what the ethical responsibilities are. But the fact that these witnesses have been sequestered, they're in a gag order, they're not allowed to look at media involving the case, so they don't know what has come out as far as the actual, real, horrifying facts about what this man did to this little girl. And they are not filling their witnesses in or not giving them any sort of heads up. So they are coming into court and basically having to be told by the state exactly what this man that they have spent a good amount of time trying to glaze, basically. They don't know the real story.
Following all the articles and videos. I've just been kind of avoiding anything with it. I don't know exactly.
That's
Redirect.
And nothing further, Your Honor.
And this would be finally excused.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Lee, Your Honor, can we approach the one? Sure.
How much more do you have? It will be interesting to see if the sidebars are able to come out. Oh gosh, who is this?
Good morning. Please raise your right hand. Solemnly swear or affirm testimony giving yourself the truth, all truth, and nothing but the truth, self.
I do.
There's a rule of evidence in effect that you cannot be in court unless you testify and what you have testified. Do not discuss your testimony with anyone else except the Lord.
Yes, sir.
Watch yourself in that chair.
Good morning. Thanks, John. Good morning. For the purpose of this hearing, I'm going to, it's Steve, by the way. For the purpose of this hearing, I'm going to call you Lee.
Okay.
All right. So Lee, how did you first meet Tanner?
Through a friend.
Okay. And you remember where that was at?
That would be Electric Cowboy.
And how would you describe Tanner?
He was fun. Got along with everybody.
Was there anything unusual about the way Tanner?
His grandparents are still living. The maternal ones.
behaved?
He just wasn't good at closing jokes. He was just a little different. I don't really know how to describe it. Just
Okay. Just one of the things that you noticed that is tough to put into words.
right. Yeah, it's just a little different.
Well, how, and you said he struggled to tell a joke.
Like if he was telling a joke and like the timing when you finish it, the laughter thing, it would be like an awkward pause. Didn't quite finish off, kind of leave a weird, silent awkwardness.
And did you ever know him to kind of be lacking in common sense sometimes?
Yes.
Now, did you have a chance to actually work with Tanner?
Yes,
Was that at a glass company?
yes,
And how long have you been in the glass business?
35 years. 33, sorry.
What was Tanner's job title at the glass company?
Installer.
And what does that mean? What would the job be?
They would be out there in the job field, residential, installing mirrors, showers, anything that needs to be done on the job site.
And was that like mostly manual labor, or
Yes, sir.
is there any kind of specialized training or a class that's required to do that?
Not to start out, but you develop that as you go.
And how long does it typically take someone to learn that trade?
You're always learning, but to go from like a helper, as I hate to say that, to a lead man, usually a year and a half.
Okay, he would have started out as a helper, and a year and a half, you'd expect him to work his way up to a lead man?
Yes, sir.
And how was Tanner's work performance?
A little bit slower than most. He did show up on time. He just was retaining stuff was hard for him.
Like retaining
Knowledge.
the knowledge, the skills. How did he get along with his coworkers?
Good.
And what about his supervisors?
Good.
Did you ever, while at work, witness Tanner have an emotional outburst or some sort of unusual reaction?
Yes.
And what was that?
He had carried in some equipment. Got sat down. Door got open. It was behind the door. We couldn't find it. Something so simple, but he just kind of lost control, freaked out. Like he couldn't handle himself. It's kind of like not a scream, but almost crying. And it's like,
Again, defense, do you not see how incredibly damaging it is that he is having emotional dysregulation on all of these small, minor things? But he was cool, calm, and collected directly after Athena. Why do you continue to keep making this a point that you are highlighting?
slap himself in the head and such.
So that was kind of directed towards himself.
Yes.
And was it expensive equipment or just?
No, it's just simple stuff. But you just can't do the job without it.
And did you also have social interactions with Tanner? You said you met
Yes.
the Electric Cowboy. Is that,
Yes.
what is that?
It's just a nightclub.
Okay. And did you have a chance to observe his interactions with people in that social setting?
Yes, sir.
Was that any way unusual?
Hadn't been, no.
Was it easy for him to make friends? And you said he was a little awkward on jokes. Was there other awkwardness?
No, it's just, he seemed like he could make friends. He didn't really go inside much. He more or less stayed outside, smoking cigarettes and such.
Give me 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Now, you're aware that he has pled guilty to kidnapping and killing Athena's family, correct?
I guess so, yes.
I don't know what's going on, if they're having a sidebar or allowing the witness to compose themselves.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Sir,
Yes, sir.
Lee, if
Yes,
you will. How long ago was this that you knew Tanner?
job wise or friend wise,
Well, let's start from the very beginning to the last time you saw him.
I would say 2000. No, not 2000. Sorry, 2000. 2019. This is probably when I first met him. Last time I'd seen him would probably be right there around 2021, 22.
And was it during that time that he worked for your business?
Yes, sir.
And how long did he work for your business?
From November 21, November 20 to December 21.
And so at that time, he was a helper.
Yes, sir.
This wasn't the first helper you had that didn't get the job and you had to let go.
Oh, no, there's been many.
Now, with regard to the social interaction, you said this was at a bar.
Yes, sir.
We were doing so well. I think even the internet is getting tired of this defense.
When would you see him at the bar?
Maybe once every week or two.
Now, at some point, Tanner told you he couldn't go to the bar anymore. Is that right?
He may have. I don't remember.
Did he tell you why he couldn't go to the bar?
I don't remember the conversation.
Did he have an altercation with the bouncer?
Now, he did
That's
say
hearsay.
Sustained.
What did Tanner tell you?
he was not
That's
allowed.
hearsay.
Well, he's answered the question. Go ahead.
He was not allowed in that bar. He's banned.
Not allowed in that bar.
Sir?
Not allowed in that bar.
Yes.
But you don't remember why he told you why.
No.
That's what I'm sure.
And my guess is that he probably wasn't allowed back in that bar because of the allegations made by the underage girls. I don't know whether that was a bar open, well, a dance club open to all ages or what, but he might have been kicked out of that bar, for and that's the thing, because he can't get into it, the jury is free to put whatever, nefarious reason they want. State, I like it.
Redirect.
I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you about Tanner losing the job. Did you have to let him go at some point?
Yes.
Do you remember about how many months into it was?
We told him just because he wasn't catching on, but the homeowner was present when he lost control of himself. And the message that's sent and so forth like that, we just couldn't have that.
Okay. Now, did he get his Christmas bonus that year?
Yes.
And did he really earn it? Or?
We do our best for everybody.
And did you, even after that, did you remain friends with Tanner?
We didn't see each other too much, no, but we crossed paths sometimes. It was a while.
But that wasn't kind of
No.
you didn't cut him off because he didn't do that job.
No, sir.
That's what it's
Mr. Stain,
Nothing wrong.
may this witness be finally excused?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Appreciate you coming. Next witness up on the list.
Yes. Give me one second. That's the same.
Okay.
May we approach?
Yes.
And they approach and go right back to another blurred witness. Do not address to your screens.
Truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, help God. Okay. effect says you cannot be in court unless you're testifying. Once you have testified, don't discuss your testimony with anybody else except the lawyers, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Ms. Anderson?
Yes, Your Honor. Sir, how are you doing today?
Okay, thank you.
We have agreed to refer to you just as Jason for these proceedings. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, so Jason, if you'll just go ahead and introduce yourself to the jury.
Hi, my name's Jason. I was a contractor at FedEx.
Hey, pull that microphone a little bit closer to the silver bar. Uh-huh. Okay.
Jason, you said that you were a contractor over at FedEx. What does that mean?
I owned a business where I owned delivery trucks that were contracted to FedEx to provide service to them through various zip codes.
Oh, was Tanner Horner one of your employees?
He was.
Dingus.
How long did he work for you at your company?
I believe it was about 5-6 months.
When you had said that you had a company that contracted with FedEx, explain to the jury, what does that mean?
Yes, so FedEx contracts areas for service providers such as myself to deliver packages to their areas, to their customers.
Now, Jason, you had just said that Tanner had worked with you about 5 or 6 months. At some point, was he transferred from your company to a different company?
He was.
After he was transferred to this different company, did you still have interactions with him?
There were some, yes.
And at the time of this offense, which company was he with?
He was with the other contractor.
Jason, I want to talk to you a little bit about the routines that FedEx drivers have when they get to their facility. What do you call the facility where they have all of the packages and where they load all the trucks?
We call it the terminal.
The terminal? All right, so I want to talk to you about the terminal. What time do drivers normally arrive at the terminal before their shift?
Typically, they arrive between 7 and 7:30 in the morning.
What time do they leave the terminal?
They leave the terminal, depends on the route, depends on the day, but typically they'll leave somewhere around 5.
What time do they leave the terminal to go out on the routes?
Oh, to go on the routes, apologies. The trucks will typically dispatch for that terminal around 8:30 in the morning.
Do you recall Tanner's, I guess for lack of better words, his work ethic at the time?
He had a solid work ethic.
Did he always show up on time?
He would show up a little bit later than the average driver, but maybe by 20-30 minutes.
So he was consistently late for his job?
I wouldn't consider him late. He's still within the window to dispatch for the day at a decent time.
Would he leave at the same time as the other drivers, or would he leave later?
A little bit later, about 20 minutes later.
Jason, when a driver arrives at the terminal, are his or her trucks already loaded?
They are loaded, yes.
Who loads them?
The loaders employed by FedEx.
How are they loaded?
They're loaded in sequence. We have what's called sequence numbers. So all of the packages on the truck usually range in sequence numbers from, say, 1,000 to 8,000. So your first deliveries will be in the 1,000s. Your final deliveries for the day typically are in the 8,000 range.
So how, I know that they're loaded by sequence numbers, but are they grouped in a specific way?
They'll be grouped by their sequence number, which is typically the way the route will run. So you'll have your 1,000s will be your first deliveries, your 2,000s will be your next deliveries, and so on until you get to about the 8,000s.
Do the drivers typically organize their own packages once they've been loaded onto the truck?
Sometimes the load quality on the trucks can vary, depends on staffing. If the station was having staffing issues, the trucks maybe wouldn't be fully loaded. The drivers would have to step in and just do quality checks to make sure their routes are loaded correctly so they don't have any hiccups along the way.
If a truck is not sufficiently organized, how can that affect how quickly packages would be delivered?
When you're making a delivery, typically you want to know exactly where the package is on every truck. So when you come out of your driver's seat, you enter into the back of the truck to locate the package for your current delivery. You want to know where it is. You don't want to be rifling through the truck. And if that's an all-day thing, you'll never get finished.
Jason, to your knowledge, did Tanner organize his own truck?
The trucks are mostly organized, but there are quality checks that you would double check to make sure your stops are in a decent order.
You mentioned the stops. How does a driver know in what order to make these deliveries?
So we used a navigation system called Ground Cloud, and Ground Cloud is synced in with the sequence numbers that I mentioned before. So your 1000s on the package, there's a little label where it has it labeled as say 1000. On Ground Cloud, it'll be labeled as number 1. So number 1, say you have 100 deliveries for the day, your Ground Cloud will show say 1 through 100.
Does the Ground Cloud app direct the driver on how to get from one stop to the next?
It does.
If a driver veers off that direction, would Ground Cloud be notified?
No.
Would the app know if there was any variance? Let's say he decided to deliver package 5 first before delivering package 3. Would that be noted in the Ground Cloud app?
No.
While on their routes, are the drivers their own bosses?
They pretty much manage their own days, yes.
Well, who's responsible for the time management of these drivers?
That would be myself or other managers.
And while they're on the route, who actually determines how long it takes to get from point A to point B?
The routes, I would time them myself. So I would just go out on these routes and I would deliver it at a normal pace. I'm not running, I'm just walking as if I have somewhere to be, carefully navigating through the deliveries, for example, like 1 through 100. And that sort of estimate of time would be more or less what we would use to judge whether a driver was way ahead of schedule or way late for the day.
But at the end of the day, is the driver responsible for making sure that all the packages get delivered?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happens if a driver isn't able to complete his route?
If there's some issues during the day, the driver would notify either myself or management.
Did this happen with Tanner, where he wasn't able to complete his route?
He did have an instance where he wasn't able to complete his route, yes,
Just one?
that I recall.
Was it possible that he had more than one time that he was not able to complete his route?
It's possible.
Jason, when is the peak delivery season for FedEx?
So the peak season would revert to the Christmas holiday.
Oh, now it's Christmas's fault. Christmas stressed all of us buying things. Are they going to blame capitalism and Christmas now? The commercialization of Christmas. This is the legal definition of spaghetti against the wall.
Season. Peak season usually starts around late November and it runs all the way to pretty much Christmas Eve.
What is the atmosphere like at the terminal during this peak season?
The terminal is a busy place during peak season. The volume almost doubles for the building. Lots of extra loaders, lots of extra trucks, and lots of extra drivers.
So you have extra trucks, extra drivers, extra loaders. It sounds like you have a lot of extra noise as well.
A lot of extra noise, yes, yes.
During this time period, because it's so busy, Can it get overwhelming for a driver if he's just not ready for it?
Absolutely.
Can it get overwhelming for a driver if he is ready for it?
Typically, if a driver is ready for peak season, they'll be okay.
When you have these busy days during peak season, is it preferable for a driver to have a route that he is familiar with or one that is new to him?
Preferable with something they're familiar with.
Why so?
Just route knowledge. You want to know where all the deliveries are. The average vehicle will also see an increase in their volume for the day. So every day is a little bit busier. Route knowledge comes into play. Their areas do shrink during peak season because the volume is so heavy. So they wouldn't normally cover the same amount of mileage that they normally would outside of peak season.
So do the routes change a little bit during peak season?
Yes, they do.
But they get smaller, which means Tanner should have, yes, more boxes, but less places to go.
While Tanner was with your company, did he stay on the same route the entire time?
No, not the entire time.
How often was his route changed?
I wouldn't say very often. There would be times to where we would have to rotate routes a little bit. Someone
We are going to put up a new stream for afternoon, so maybe it's the length of the stream, not the string, or the inability.
we also have flu season comes around, people get sick, so we would have to shuffle the routes around a little bit to make up for that absence.
But for the most part, would you agree that he stayed on the same route?
Yes.
You had mentioned about why it's important to have a route that people know during peak season. Is it important to have a route that you know during non-peak season?
It's comforting to know what you have in front of you every day when you come to work.
Oh, when Tanner was transferred to this other service provider, was he kept on the same route that you had him on?
I don't know.
Was he switched to the Paradise route?
Eventually, yes.
Jason, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the difference between an urban delivery route and a rural delivery route. Are they the same?
No, not necessarily. They have their differences for sure. Rural routes usually have less deliveries to make because they have more mileage to cover, whereas urban routes they have less mileage and more density within the route. So they would have more packages to deliver because they have less mileage to cover.
Well, Jason, do you believe that you should put a city driver on a rural route?
No, it wouldn't be advisable, but it does happen.
Why is it not advisable?
That's not what they're used to. There's big differences. You wouldn't want to take a rural driver that doesn't face rush hour traffic and things like that and then place them in, say, a route that's having issues with rush hour and school zones and all those.
And Jason, the last thing I want to talk to you about is your relationship with Tanner Horner.
Yes.
When Tanner was working for you, did you get to know him at all?
I did. I was there quite frequently, 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. I made sure to touch base with everybody, get to know them, their personal lives. They are driving my vehicle, but it's labeled with another company's name, and it's full of other people's property. So I wanted to get to know the drivers for sure.
During the time that Tanner worked with you, did he talk to you about his life?
He did.
And based upon your interactions with Tanner, and again, without telling us what may have been said, Did you get the feeling that he was struggling with things at home?
Financially, yes.
Did you know whether or not he had just become a new father?
I did know that, yes.
Now, you mentioned the financial difficulties. Did you try to help Tanner with his financial difficulties?
Yes, ma'am. I gave him a loan.
Do you remember how much of a loan you gave him?
I believe I gave him about $1,100 to help him with his family, his living situation. He had car troubles. I just wanted to help him. He needed help. He didn't have anyone else to go to. And he seemed like a good enough person.
Jason, do you remember a time in May of 2022 when Tanner had to take a leave of absence?
I do.
Do you recall how long he was gone?
He was gone for approximately 1 week.
And to your recollection, was that due to a medical issue?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor, quickly. All these, it sounds to me like, Jason, that, and just given your statements today, that you seem to get to know all your workers. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's true.
And I get the vibe from you, just talking with you today, that you loan money to just about anyone if they need it. Am I right?
If they needed help, I was in a position to help and I would do so.
Right. And I'm betting your employees appreciate that and value that in you as boss, don't they?
They do.
Now, in this particular case, you only knew Tanner 5 or 6 months, right?
Yes, sir.
And during that time, with all the other drivers that are going on, how many other drivers do you have at that time?
At that time, I had close to 20 delivery routes.
Each route has a driver, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
And then you probably have a couple of extra to help out.
I do.
And in that particular situation, the routes for all the drivers can change at different times, can't
It happens sometimes, yes.
they? It's not preferred, obviously, but it does happen.
It does happen.
And those drivers, they understand that, but that's part of working for you and getting paid, is that sometimes they might have to go on a little different route.
Yes, sir.
All right. And also when they go on these different routes, you talked about peak season. Even during peak season, do you make accommodations to provide help or assistance? In other words, would you yourself actually go out and help one of your drivers to work back?
Yes, I was on the road just as much as the drivers would be.
So even during peak season, the drivers during that time, those that are behind, would you have the other ones who are maybe ahead go help them?
Yes, sir. During peak season, the holiday Christmas season, we would set up buddy plans. So you would have a route, and the route closest to it would be their buddy. So sometimes I would have to ask the buddy to go help out another route, and otherwise I would be on the road myself.
Right. And during this time, this 5 or 6 months that you had Tanner to work with you, he was able to do all of that, wasn't he?
He was, sir.
He was able to manage the GPS and manage his route, wasn't he?
He was.
And was able to communicate with you when he needed help for additional help delivering packages.
He would have been able to communicate. I don't remember an instance where I would specifically have to go and help him, except for the one day when he had to leave early and go take care of a personal issue.
Right. But you didn't have any problem with him doing all the things that you needed him to do during that time that he worked for you.
I did not.
That's the witness.
Redirect.
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be finally excused. Any objection?
Not for me, Your Honor.
None, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, your lunch is here, and we'll
They are going to break. We are going to take a break. And that way, we're going to start a little after they come back. That way, we can speed through breaks. I remember why I don't like being current time because he can't speed through the brakes. But that is the plan. Thank you for hanging out this morning. I do have it set up so you'll be redirected when we start again at 3. Will the defense ever end? For the love of Schmidos, I am so tired. I will be restarting my computer, clearing my cache, and, well, restarting my computer and doing all that stuff. Dear Lord, let's hope it ends today. The case, I I don't know what more the defense thinks they're going to get out, but this is getting ridiculous. I will see you guys at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So it's about 1:30 here, so you have about an hour and a half to go get some lunch, get some emotional support snacks, whatever you need to do, and then we will be back for the afternoon session. So I will see you then. Bye, you guys.